What's going on, guys? Pro here at VIP Outdoors. Welcome to the backyard. Spring Chinook season here in the Northwest is a great fishery. The reason it's a great fishery is because we really look forward to table fare. They're not the easiest fish to catch, and there's a couple things that make those fish extra delicious. Number one is that right there. They're not easy to catch. And when you do, you want to take full advantage of it. And number two, main reason these fish are so tasty is the amount of oil and fat that they have in them naturally. These fish are migrating a long ways, so therefore they have to use that energy that they have within their bodies to survive all summer long during these hot months. Check out the amount of fat in this spring Chinook off of our Columbia River. You know, a lot of people talk about Copper River salmon being some of the best in the world. I'll tell you what, I'd put this up against it any day of the week. Now, today we got a treat for you. Not only are we making our spring Chinook salmon, but what we're gonna do with it is we're gonna make a homemade blackened salmon Caesar salad with homemade dressing that you are not gonna wanna miss. So we're making our blackened salmon Caesar salad, but it's not just any Caesar salad. My buddy Austin down from California, he's like, hey, you gotta start making your own Caesar dressing. He sent me a video, which we're gonna share with you guys a little bit later. It's hilarious, it's a great video. But what he mentioned to me is like, it's not always the same. He goes, I never make the Caesar dressing the same exact way, just because they use a little splash of this, a little splash of that. And with that, I go, well, I'm gonna modify it just a little bit and make it my own. So what we're gonna do with our Caesar dressing is we're gonna make a roasted poblano and garlic Caesar dressing. Check this out. Back on this grill over here, I have my poblano grilling, nice and charred. This is what we're looking for when we roast any pepper. We want that nice, charred, blistery skin. As soon as I have it blistered, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toss it right back in the bag that came from the grocery store. I'm gonna wrap this up tight, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna steam, and that skin is gonna wanna blister and naturally pull away from the flesh of the pepper. We're gonna let that hang out for a few minutes before we blend it up. And what we have here is we have our roasted garlic. Our roasted garlic, I think, is gonna take away some of that bitterness that you get in dressings when you use a raw garlic. We are gonna do a 50-50 ratio between roasted and fresh garlic. So we're gonna take these 2 cloves of garlic that are roasted, and I'm gonna pop them in my blender. So we got, again, our 2 roasted garlic cloves. I'm gonna take 2 raw garlic cloves, give them a nice little smash. We're gonna use a medium avocado. So, not the whole thing, but just get the flesh out of there. Like so. Got our avocados. We're gonna go straight into our lemon juice. We want to use a lemon and a half. Now, throughout this recipe, I may or may not forget to give you certain amounts of ingredients, but don't worry about it. We're gonna put the full recipe down in the description. Here, squeeze in the juice of, again, a lemon and a half. Try to catch all those seeds. I know there's also the lemon squeezers out there. Nothing wrong with those. I'm just don't have one. Okay, take this lemon here. We're gonna slice some wedges on this and put it aside. So we got our lemon juice in there. Now we're gonna do 1 full egg and 1 egg yolk. So I'm gonna get the white out of this one. Take the egg right to the blender. The egg yolk, here's the full egg. Get that put aside. Got capers. Cap full of capers. Can give you a little bit of brininess. Squirt of Dijon mustard. Again, I know some of you are freaking out because you don't know the exact quantities. I have them measured out. We'll put them down in the description. Worcestershire, just a little splash. You could use apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, whatever you look, you don't need the cap. A little splash of that guy. Now let's get our roasted poblano. Been in there for a couple minutes. Skin naturally wants to peel off. Get all that skin off there. Need to cut that guy. Probably could have left it a little bit longer to steam, but that's all right. Seems to be cooperating okay. We're gonna give our poblano just a rough chop. That goes in. I'm gonna use a little bit of peperoncini juice here. Just kind of liquefy it a little bit. Splash it in just like so. Now let's take the top to this thing and rock and roll. Now that I got my base, you see the consistency is kind of thick and chunky. What I want to do is I want to liquefy that a little bit. So take our blender and put it on low speed and get it going. Turn up the speed just a little bit. Take off the top. Be careful when you take off the top. Sometimes she wants to fire back at you. I go with olive oil. What I'm looking for in this olive oil is some consistency in my dressing. You guys all know what Caesar dressing consistency looks like. A little bit liquefied, a little bit thick. Maybe a tad more. Again, I'll have those quantities down in the recipe for you. I'm going to turn this off for now. Last but not least, to go into our poblano Caesar dressing is grated Parmesan and Asiago cheese. Give you a rough idea, it's about half a cup of each, or half a cup total, excuse me, not of each. You could use the pre-grated stuff, but come on. There's gonna be a flavor difference, no doubt about it. Let's get this out of the way. I feel like that's a safety hazard right now. All right, so this Parmesan, about a quarter cup there. I'm going the Asiago. Maybe there's a little bit more than half a cup, but that's okay. I like cheese. All right, I'm gonna put this top back on just to get her started. Once it's rolling, I'm gonna slowly introduce that cheese. That cheese is gonna help give it its saltiness. A lot of different flavors going on here. You got briny, you got spicy, you got salty. You just got downright goodness in there. All right, close that up. I'm gonna turn up the speed now. You're gonna watch this change colors. It'll go to a lighter color. You're almost introducing air to it. It's gonna whip it a little bit. And that's how you know you're ever done. Perfect. And take this top off. It's real deal. That is real deal right there. I'll pour this in this bowl and set it aside. I'm not kidding. If I had hair, I'd wash my hair with this. This one turned out good. I'm hoping I could repeat this. This one turned out really, really good. All right, I'm gonna put that aside for the time being. Put my sauce to the side. Get my blender cleaned up. Get my station cleaned up. And then we're gonna move on to the star of the show right here. Columbia River Spring Chinook. The old-fashioned way. Spring Chinook. One of the things I want to mention when I process my fish right after I catch them, if I have fish going into the freezer for an unknown amount of time, I always take the skin off. No matter if it's salmon, bottomfish, halibut, whatever it is, I take the skin off. That skin, there's a lot of slime on that skin. It's the first layer of natural protection for those fish. So a lot of times that contaminate, when you vacuum pack it, you freeze it, you unthaw, you open the bag and you get this waft of fish. And it's, I don't know, a little off-putting in my opinion, but this is a good way to get rid of that. So I remember when I first started doing this, it was about 2021, so I'll give you a good reference, right? I had one bag no skin, one bag with skin. I zipped the top off the one with no skin. I smelled it. I go, dang it, I have COVID. Anyways, I popped open the next one and sure enough, there was a salmon. So it just leaves a nice clean flavor. What I'm gonna do in the meantime, I got my flat top going. It's getting nice and hot. We're gonna put a nice sear on that to give it some texture, some crust. I'm gonna prep a couple different things. I was gonna use croutons from the store. That just don't seem right with all the effort we did with the salad, and then it just doesn't do the fish any justice. And let's be honest, a crouton is just a fancy way of saying tiny toast. That's all it is. So we got some sourdough here, got that sliced up. I'm actually gonna go ahead and butter that up right now as I think about it. I'm gonna go ahead and take some garlic salt to the top of it. And that's ready to go onto my flat top. That's ready to rock and roll. Romaine lettuce. I got 2 heads here. With one head, I'm gonna do what we all do. Chop that off. Come right down the middle. I'm gonna slice it just like so. Kind of a couple different angles here. Second one though, what I'm gonna do is take it, go right down the middle, leaving the stock on there just like so. Put this over here on my grill plate. This is my grill and prep. I took the olive oil inside, but I have a little bit of this, so I'm just gonna give those a quick spray. Along with my toast. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm gonna take these, put them over face down on that flat top. So to take some of that bitterness out of the romaine. Some's good, some bitterness is good. Too much bitterness, not so good. All right, now we're ready to rock and roll. Now that we got the dressing ready, got the veggies out of the way, we got our spring Chinook from the Columbia River. This is prime. I'm gonna put a napkin down. Maybe wind blowing a little bit. And what that napkin's gonna do is absorb any unwanted moisture. Give it a nice little pat on top. Get all that excess moisture off there. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous fish. Cannot beat that at all. Let's season it up. A little bit of slap your mama. You gotta be careful with slap your mama. There is a lot of salt in that. If you overdo it with slap your mama, whoo, it's just gonna be salty. And again, we're going with the blackened salmon. I just buy that one right there off the shelf. Now with this blackening, now you can coat it. Coat that salmon really heavily with that blackening seasoning. Now blackening seasoning, this one in particular, does not have a high sodium content to it, so it don't feel like you over season your salmon. That was really nice, Ringo. Good job. Backside, season both sides of it. A little bit of slap your mama. Perfect. Give it a nice little pat. Make sure it adheres on there. Pick up any extra that's on that cutting board. Roll it around. Now we're ready to go to the flat top. Let's do this thing. Here's what's beautiful about this spring Chinook, is the amount of natural fat in this salmon warrants 0 oil on your flat top here. We're gonna go straight to the flat top with that. And get a nice sear on there. And we're gonna go about 3 minutes on each side. This is the belly wall, so this is the nice tender part. It's very rich, very oily, just a gorgeous piece of meat. What I'm looking to do is just get that nice sear on both sides of it so we have texture within our flavor. We have crusty on the outside and nice and just so soft and juicy in the middle. Check out our romaine. Look how nice that looks. Okay, it takes down the bitterness. again of that romaine. I'm gonna go with my oversized crouton. Let those cook. If you have a cooktop with a lid on it, you could close it. Honestly, you don't have to. I like being able to watch this salmon cook. And you could already see the oils coming out of that fish, the natural oils coming out of it. Again, no oil was needed on this. This will not stick to your flat top. It just, I can't say enough about it. But look at that. Look at the amount of oil down there. It really does look like we saturated that flat top with oil, but that's just the good old-fashioned omega-3s in the Columbia River Spring Chinook. Time to flip the salmon. This is the moment of truth. We're looking for that crust. There it is. That's what we're looking for right there. And with that blackening seasoning, this is not burnt. What happened, that blackening season, it's called blackening season for a reason. You are changing the color of your proteins. There's so much fat in that belly piece right there, in that collar piece. I'm actually gonna slide this guy over and poach some of that oil. This is more of a top piece with not as much oil, but I'll tell you what, oil they're definitely gonna share. Here's my not so fancy crouton. Get that nice and flipped over, that's looking good. Give that a toast on the other side, oh yeah. And that's looking nice. Let's go ahead and start putting our salad together. This guy's gonna be ready in a few minutes. We gotta be ready over here. Assembled. Do this thing. I got my romaine, my raw romaine. I'm gonna take our roasted romaine, and now I'm gonna slice it there. If you really wanna be fancy, you can put it on there just like so. We're not gonna be fancy today, not overly fancy. So I'm gonna take these bottoms off, slice it just the way I did the last one. Okay. Our homemade dressing. Absolutely perfect. Give that a quick mix. Don't be afraid of it. You made it. Put it on there. Don't be afraid of that, man. This ain't a health dish, by the way. If you haven't figured that out, this ain't no health dish. This is a tasty, like you're out at a restaurant, it's a nice spring, summer day. You're like, I'm gonna pretend to be healthy because I should be eating a salad, but I'm gonna put some delicious dressing on there, along with some amazing fatty salmon. So, best of both worlds. All right, got that blended up, mixed up, I should say. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna serve it right on this cutting board, this custom cutting board right here. Kind of primal. I'm gonna do a little more parm on top because you gotta do parm on top. You gotta do fresh Parmesan. Just like so. Fresh cracked pepper. I'll move everything out of the way. We can't have anything in the way for bringing this salmon over, man. You're gonna have to zoom in on this right here. This is gonna be a big deal. Hold on. Let me get the fancy crouton. Got those right there. And just like so. I better get more salmon. And last but not least, almost forgot. You gotta do peppers. You gotta do peppers, man. I don't know how people eat salad without peppers. Just like so. That is about as good as it gets. One of the things that I love about the Northwest is that I could take something that I harvested locally, less than 30 minutes away from my doorstep. I could come home, prepare that meal for my family, know exactly where that fish or game came from, knowing that it's a healthy protein to put in my family. That's a big deal for me, number one. Number two, I'm able to take this meal and I share it in a lot of different ways. I share this meal with, number one, my family and friends who are here to enjoy it with me. I'm here to share it with you, our YouTube subscribers, our social media followers. I'm here to share that recipe and knowledge with you. I'm also here to share it with anybody who has any input, like my buddy Austin. He's like, dude, try this Caesar dressing. I'm like, yeah, man, I'll give that a shot. So he shared this meal with me in some different way, and it's all based on one fish. We caught one fish that day. One fish for 9 hours of effort with 4 rods. We lost 5 or 6 others, but one fish is enough to bring you everything that I just described. And that is more than any full limit of spring Chinook could ever provide. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we're just gonna keep on rolling.